Have you ever experienced that mysterious inner whisper? The one that rises before your mind can reason, saying, quietly, "Don't go there," or urging you gently to say yes to something. Perhaps it arrived as a sudden heaviness in your chest warning you not to trust a person, or maybe as a subtle pull drawing you to take a different road home, a road that only later you realized was essential to your safety or your destiny. These moments come as if from nowhere, yet they leave an imprint that logic struggles to explain. Most people disregard them, labeling them as coincidence, irrationality, or fleeting emotion. But what if those whispers were not random at all? What if they were the very language of the quantum field, the earliest signals of realities already beginning to crystallize beyond what your ordinary perception can register? For generations, we have been trained to believe that life is logical, linear, and predictable. We are told that everything unfolds by cause and effect, that our decisions must be made by analyzing options, weighing pros and cons, and then acting with reason. But the reality uncovered by quantum mechanics shatters that old view. Experiments demonstrate that information can appear before an event occurs, as if consciousness itself is not bound by time. Scientists like Dean Radin, along with organizations such as the HeartMath Institute, call this phenomenon presentiment, the body's remarkable ability to sense the future before the mind can articulate why. Your nervous system, your heart, your gut. They are not passive organs of biology. They are sophisticated instruments capable of registering shifts in the quantum field before thought has even begun. That quiet inner nudge you often dismiss is not imagination. It is a preview of your future reality, a glimpse into a timeline preparing to unfold. Consider how you tune into a radio station. At first, you hear static. Then, fragments of music slip through until suddenly the melody becomes clear. Intuition works in the same way. It is the static transforming into signal, your awareness catching fragments of the frequency you're about to lock into. The tragedy is that most people are conditioned to doubt the static, to silence it with logic, or to push it away by demanding proof. But here lies the truth. The quantum field never speaks in proofs. It speaks in resonance. And resonance does not come as data, but as feeling. That is why intuition feels so soft, almost ignorable. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't argue. It nudges. It doesn't overwhelm you. It gently invites you forward. Yet, when you look back at the most important decisions of your life, you will often realize that the first flicker of awareness, that gut reaction, that inner knowing it was there, guiding you long before your reasoning mind could explain. The irony is that most people only trust this guidance in hindsight. They say, "I knew it. I should have listened." But by the time they recognize it, the proof has already arrived through the unfolding of events. Imagine, instead, if you trusted that signal the very first time without demanding confirmation. How different would your path look? Quantum manifestation does not begin when you decide with your mind. It begins in the silent moment before decision, in the microsecond when the field reveals a preview of the path. It is as if you are standing on the threshold of two timelines, feeling the shimmer of the one calling your name. If you ignore it, you slip back into the familiar past. If you follow it, you step into the new reality awaiting you. Intuition and synchronicity are not accidents. They are markers from the field guideposts declaring that collapse into form is already in progress. The paradox is that intuition feels too simple to be real. Your mind insists, "I need evidence, I need data, I need a plan." Yet the universe does not work with guarantees. It works with alignment. Complexity is the language of the mind. Simplicity is the language of the field. And intuition is simplicity embodied, one signal, one nudge, one whisper. Follow it, and you align. Ignore it, and you fall out of resonance. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They believe it requires elaborate rituals, countless affirmations, or hours of visualization. They forget that the very first step always comes as the whisper. The whisper itself is alignment. The whisper is the doorway. To hear it, to trust it, and to act without hesitation is to collapse into reality faster than logic could ever calculate. In fact, logic is always late to the party. By the time your mind constructs an explanation, your energy has already shifted the field. So the real question is not whether the quantum field is speaking to you, it always is. The question is, are you listening? That flicker of awareness you felt this week, that gut pull you brushed aside, that sudden yes or no, you ignored, that was the quantum compass pointing the way. It was a preview of the future already forming. The more you notice it, the louder it becomes. Eventually, life itself transforms into a symphony of synchronicities guiding you without confusion, without fear, without struggle. This is where the journey begins, by understanding that intuition is not superstition, but science in motion. For centuries, intuition was dismissed as unreliable, soft, or even dangerous to trust. But today, physics, biology, and neuroscience are converging to affirm what shamans, mystics, and spiritual teachers always knew, that the body senses the future before the rational mind can explain it. Intuition is not fantasy. It is your quantum compass, the subtle but profound language of the field calling you into alignment with realities already waiting for you. Let us begin with this work of Dean Radin, one of the most respected pioneers at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. His studies on presentiment, the body's astonishing ability to react before an event even occurs, have transformed how we understand human consciousness. In his experiments, participants were shown images that were either neutral and calming or shocking and disturbing. What was discovered defied conventional logic. Before the disturbing images appeared, their bodies were already responding. Heart rates increased, sweat glands activated, nervous systems spiked, and even subtle shifts in brain waves were recorded seconds in advance. The body literally anticipated the future before the mind could know what was coming. These results, tested again and again, reached statistical significance that could not be dismissed. Something beyond linear time was clearly at play. Radin concluded with clarity. Consciousness is not limited to the present, it reaches into the future. With that, the old assumptions about time and awareness began to crumble. Now, let us move to the HeartMath Institute, where researchers like Roland McCready uncovered another extraordinary discovery. Their work demonstrated that the human heart, not only the brain, is a powerful intuitive organ. In a famous study, participants again anticipated future stimuli, but what astonished researchers was that the heart responded before the brain did. The sequence was undeniable. The heart sensed the future, then sent messages to the brain, which in turn influenced the body. This overturned the old model of cognition completely. We are not simply thinking creatures operating from the head. We are beings whose entire electromagnetic field participates in thought. The heart is not merely a pump circulating blood. It is an electromagnetic transmitter and receiver broadcasting signals into the quantum field and decoding information beyond time. This realization invites us to see ourselves as radiant fields of awareness rather than machines of flesh and bone. This brings us directly to the groundbreaking work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. In his book, Becoming Supernatural, he describes how aligning the heart and the brain into what he calls coherence creates a measurable electromagnetic signature. When your thoughts, emotions, and bodily rhythms synchronize, you are not just experiencing calm, you are tuning into a frequency that reorganizes matter itself. In workshops across the globe, Dispenza and his team have measured participants entering heart-brain coherence, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. Reports include spontaneous healings, profound synchronicities, and radical shifts in perception that leave the old model of cause and effect reality in the dust. What his research demonstrates is revolutionary, yet simple. Your state of being is not passive. It is the signal that collapses your future reality into form, and science has provided us with the framework to understand this. Consider the famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics. Subatomic particles behave one way when unobserved and another way when observed. The very act of observation, the presence of consciousness, changes the outcome. But what is often overlooked is that the shift occurs not when the mind makes a logical decision to observe, but when awareness aligns with possibility itself. Intuition, then, is this pre-observation alignment. It is the first spark that collapses the probability wave into a concrete reality. In other words, your intuition is not simply predicting your future, it is helping to create it. This is why, across spiritual traditions, intuition has always been revered as sacred. Indigenous cultures spoke of the small voice that guided hunters, healers, and visionaries. Mystics like Neville Goddard taught that assumption creates reality, that the first inner feeling is always the truth. Even Albert Einstein, a man celebrated as the epitome of rational science, confessed, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." He saw what physics would one day confirm, that intuition is not fantasy. It has function, and that function is rooted in the physics of consciousness. And yet, here is the paradox. In our modern culture, we have been conditioned to distrust intuition. We label it irrational, unscientific, and unreliable. We demand evidence, demand proof, demand data that fits neatly into charts and graphs. But science itself is now proving what intuition has whispered for millennia. The quantum field does not wait for your rational conclusions. It moves at the speed of resonance. Intuition is your first responder, the part of you that already knows where energy is flowing. It does not require permission from logic, it simply points the way. Now, imagine this: every time you dismiss your intuition, you are stepping out of alignment with the timeline you truly desire. Every time you override that first feeling with doubt, you are broadcasting to the field, "I do not trust the signal." And the field mirrors that back, giving you experiences of uncertainty, confusion, and delay. But the opposite is just as true. Every time you honor that subtle nudge, every time you say yes to the whisper before reason can catch up, you are telling the quantum field, "I trust. I align. I am ready." That single act of trust collapses a new reality into being. This is why simplicity matters so deeply. Intuition never comes in the form of a spreadsheet or a 5-step strategy. It does not arrive as complexity. It comes as a flicker, a pull, a quiet knowing. It is subtle precisely because it bypasses the noisy machinery of the mind. But once you learn to recognize its frequency, your life begins to harmonize with the deepest intelligence of the universe. You no longer need to force or to chase. Instead, you attune. And here is perhaps the most liberating truth of all: you do not have to develop intuition because it has always been with you. What is required is not learning, but unlearning the unlearning of the habit of ignoring it. The whispers have always been there. The quantum field has never stopped speaking. The only question is whether you are quiet enough, open enough, trusting enough to listen. Because when you do, life itself becomes a dance of resonance, and every moment becomes proof that intuition was never weakness, it was always your greatest gift. More than just a biological system, your nervous system is the living interface between your inner world and the outer quantum field. When it falls into dysregulation, stressed, chaotic, stuck in fight or flight, it broadcasts incoherent signals into the field. And, as Dr. Joe Dispenza's research has shown time and again, incoherence creates fragmentation in your manifested reality. You think one thing, feel another, and your body reacts as though under constant threat. That state of survival blocks access to the higher frequencies where intuition, synchronicity, and transformation reside. But here lies the undeniable connection. The HeartMath Institute discovered that the electromagnetic field of the heart is 60 times stronger than that of the brain. This field expands several feet beyond your body, and it shifts instantly, depending on whether your nervous system is aligned or in chaos. When you are calm, centered, and regulated, your heart field becomes coherent, ordered, and expansive. This frequency not only stabilizes your body but also influences the environment and people around you. In other words, your nervous system does not merely receive reality, it transmits it. You are not a passive receiver. You are a powerful transmitter. Quantum physics offers us the metaphor of entanglement. When two particles become entangled, what happens to one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. This is not theory, but experimental fact. Now, imagine your nervous system as one half of that entangled pair and the quantum field as the other. The moment you shift from fear to presence, from disorder to coherence, the field shifts with you. Inner regulation is mirrored by outer synchronicities. That is why so many miraculous experiences follow deep meditation. The nervous system enters balance, the broadcast changes, and the quantum field reorganizes to match. Neuroscience affirms this truth through the principle of neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself according to repeated states of being. When you live in stress, the brain carves neural pathways that anticipate danger. That expectation becomes the lens through which reality collapses. But when you train your nervous system to stay open and safe through practices like breathwork meditation and intentional stillness, your brain rewires toward possibility. You begin to expect good things, and expectation itself becomes resonance. That resonance draws good things toward you. Ancient traditions understood this long before the language of neuroscience existed. Yogis spoke of pranayama, the mastery of breath, not merely as exercise, but as energetic alignment. Mystics across cultures used stillness chanting and ritual as tools to regulate the nervous system. They knew a chaotic body could not contain a coherent spirit. Modern science is now catching up, confirming this wisdom through studies of vagus nerve regulation, heart rate variability, and gamma brain waves. All of it points to the same truth: when your nervous system is balanced, you become a clear antenna for the quantum field. Here lies the paradox. Most people are so accustomed to living in dysregulation that they mistake it for normal. Constant stress, overthinking, multitasking, rushing. This is considered ordinary life, and yet this very state is what blocks manifestation. Instead of broadcasting clarity, they are transmitting static. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station while someone continuously twists the dial. The sound never comes through clearly. That is what happens when your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. You cannot lock onto the frequency of your desired reality. The encouraging news is that your nervous system was designed with resilience. It can reset. Every time you take a conscious, slow breath, you signal safety to your body. Every time you place a hand over your heart and shift attention from racing thoughts to felt emotions, you generate coherence. And the moment your body feels safe, your intuition amplifies. You stop confusing fear with guidance and begin to perceive the subtle whispers of the field. This is not abstract theory. Studies show that even a few minutes of heart-focused breathing can increase coherence, strengthen intuitive perception, and improve decision-making. Dr. Dispenza's guided meditations employ exactly these methods to bring the body into coherence so the mind can project a clear signal. The nervous system is the gatekeeper. When scattered manifestation feels like endless struggle, when regulated manifestation feels like effortless flow. So the next time you notice your heart racing, your breath shallow, or your thoughts spiraling, recognize it for what it is. It is not just stress. It is misalignment with the field. And in that very moment, you have the power to reset the antenna. Slow down, breathe, feel deeply, because the quantum does not listen to your words, it responds to your state of being. And when your state shifts, reality shifts. This is where synchronicities, those magical alignments that feel too perfect to be accidents, reveal their true meaning. Have you noticed how in moments of flow, life begins to respond as though it were conspiring with you? You think of a friend and suddenly they call. You wonder about a solution and the right book lands in your hands. You set an intention, and within days the opportunity appears from the most unexpected direction. These are synchronicities, moments when the universe whispers back, showing you that you are in harmony with the field. They are not random, they are feedback loops. They are the quantum field reflecting the clarity of your inner broadcast back into your lived experience. Carl Jung named it meaningful coincidence, but now physics, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom unite to remind us synchronicity is the echo of coherence, the proof that your nervous system and the field are attuned. Modern quantum research opens an even deeper window into this mystery. Just as particles respond to observation, your lived reality responds to coherence. When your nervous system is balanced, when the rhythms of your heart and brain are synchronized, your electromagnetic field becomes ordered. And in physics, what do ordered systems do? They resonate with other ordered systems. This is why when you enter coherence, you begin to click into timelines where everything seems orchestrated with elegance. It is not luck, it is resonance. Think of it as tuning into a radio station. If the dial is slightly off, the song comes through with static, distorted, and frustrating. You strain to hear, but the melody never becomes clear. That is how most people live slightly out of tune, manifesting fragments of their desires mixed with interference and contradiction. But when you finally tune in precisely, the music is vibrant, undeniable, alive. That moment is synchronicity. The field is signaling you are aligned, you are tuned. Every coincidence is not chance, but an echo, a mirror, a marker of alignment. Dr. Joe Dispenza often describes synchronicities as signs of becoming supernatural, not because you are operating outside of nature, but because you are finally flowing in harmony with its deepest laws. In his workshops, thousands of participants report that once they regulate their bodies into coherence and focus intently on the vision of their future self, synchronicities multiply. They see repeating numbers. They meet people who change the trajectory of their lives. They find themselves in the right place at the right time again and again. What is happening is not chaos. It is the quantum field reorganizing to mirror the order you have cultivated within. And yet, there is a deeper dimension often overlooked. Synchronicities are not only signs that you are on the right path, they are invitations to trust more deeply. Here is the pattern: when the first synchronicities appear, people feel awe. They are amazed, even humbled. But soon, the rational mind interrupts. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe I'm imagining this. That doubt pulls them out of resonance, and the field, ever-responsive, mirrors not only their clarity, but their hesitation. And this is why synchronicities sometimes fade. The universe did not stop speaking. It is simply that your nervous system slipped back into incoherence. So the real question becomes, how do you keep the flow alive? The key is to treat synchronicities not as random luck, but as direct communication. Imagine learning a new language, and one day someone begins speaking it back to you. Would you ignore them? Of course not. You would lean in, you would listen, you would respond. That is the quantum field. Each synchronicity is a word, a phrase, a sentence in an ongoing dialogue between you and the cosmos. The more you honor it, the more fluent you become. Ignore it, and the conversation fades. Acknowledge it, and the conversation deepens. There is a powerful practice you can try. For 1 week, keep a synchronicity journal. Write down every moment that feels like more than coincidence. It might be a number sequence on a clock, a stranger speaking words you were just thinking, a dream that manifests in waking life. At the end of the week, review your notes. You will begin to notice patterns. The synchronicities cluster around moments when you felt most open, most aligned, most in trust. This reflection alone begins to recondition your nervous system. You start to expect coherence, and expectation itself is resonance. Quantum physics supports this through the principle of feedback systems. In nonlinear dynamics, small internal shifts can produce massive external effects. The butterfly effect. Your internal coherence may appear small, but it ripples outward, reorganizing external circumstances in ways you cannot logically predict. Over time, you realize these are not random ripples. They are spirals, fractals, sacred geometries of meaning unfolding. Synchronicity is how the universe reveals the architecture of your alignment. And here is the essential truth: synchronicities are never about the event itself. Seeing 11:11 on the clock holds no magic in isolation. Meeting a stranger by chance is not the miracle. The true miracle is the reflection it offers evidence that your vibration is interacting with the fabric of reality in real time. The recognition of that reflection shifts you from chasing signs to using them as feedback. Each alignment becomes an invitation to anchor deeper into trust, to root yourself more fully in coherence, to embody the version of yourself that already exists within the quantum field. So, when synchronicities appear in your life, do not brush them aside with a smile and a shrug. Pause, breathe. Whisper to yourself, "This is feedback. I am tuned in." The more you honor the signal, the stronger it becomes. And when the signal grows strong enough, your entire reality begins to organize itself around that resonance. This is the path where manifestation feels less like effort and more like flow, less like struggle and more like music. Take a breath with me now and declare inwardly, "I am the signal." Anchor it into your awareness today, because when you acknowledge the dialogue, the field responds in kind. And as synchronicities multiply, you are not simply witnessing magic, you are co-authoring reality with the quantum field itself. There comes a time on the path when the signs seem to vanish. No repeating numbers, no chance encounters, no cosmic winks. At first, panic often sets in. Did I lose my connection? Am I doing something wrong? Has the universe abandoned me? But what appears as silence is not absence. It is the pause between breaths, the stillness in music that makes the melody possible. When synchronicities fade, it is not punishment, it is initiation. To understand this, consider the workings of quantum mechanics. A particle exists in superposition, holding multiple possibilities at once until observation collapses it into reality. Synchronicities are like flickers of those possibilities, glimpses of what is aligning. But once you have stabilized into a new frequency, the flicker is no longer needed. The system doesn't have to send constant signals. You have already collapsed into the new timeline. The silence is the field saying, "I heard you. I am aligned with you. Now, will you trust me?" This is the very place where many sabotage themselves. They confuse silence with disconnection. Instead of holding steady, they slip back into fear, anxiety, and control. That regression pulls them out of coherence, creating the illusion that the magic has disappeared. But the truth is, the magic never left. The silence itself is the test. Can you hold the vibration without constant reassurance? Can you trust the process when the feedback loop is quiet? Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us, the moment you trust in the unknown, you step into the quantum. That is exactly what silence demands of you. The universe is asking, are you creating because you crave validation, or because you have become the vibration itself? If your power depends on signs, you are still giving your authority away. But if you can embody trust in the absence of signs, you become unshakable. That is when manifestation shifts from fragile hope into undeniable reality. Think of learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you rely on training wheels. Those are the synchronicities guiding you, showing you that you're moving correctly. But eventually, the training wheels come off. The wobble feels frightening. Yet, it is the only way to discover your balance. Silence is the field, removing those wheels, asking you to embody balance without needing proof. And here lies the paradox. The moment you relax into the silence, synchronicities return, but at a higher octave. They no longer appear as small reassurances. They arrive as orchestrated events that alter the trajectory of your life, encounters with people who open new paths. Opportunities once thought impossible, timelines that feel destined. The silence was not emptiness, it was gestation. A seed does not sprout the day it is planted. It remains hidden in darkness until the moment of undeniable emergence. So too, with manifestation, silence is the soil where your new life takes root. Psychology confirms this with neuroscience. The human brain is wired to seek patterns. When you first notice synchronicities, your mind becomes hyper-alert, scanning for confirmation. This heightens the sense of wonder, but eventually the brain normalizes those signals. The magic has not vanished, you have simply integrated it. The real work now is to expand beyond the craving for novelty and cultivate inner stability. So the next time synchronicities appear to stop, shift your perspective. Do not ask, "Where did the magic go?" Instead, affirm, "The silence means the shift is stabilizing." Let the quiet be your proof. It is the universe inviting you to graduate from dependence into mastery. If you can hold your vibration without external confirmation, you unlock a deeper level of power. Because now your state is not conditional, it is sovereign. And sovereignty is the ground of effortless manifestation. Take this moment as a sacred threshold. It is not the end of synchronicity, but the evolution of it. In silence, you are stretched. In silence, you are reminded that the true power was never in the signs themselves. It was always within you. When you step through this doorway, you discover the highest secret of quantum manifestation. It was never about chasing signs. It was about becoming the signal. It was never about chasing synchronicity. It was always about becoming the signal itself. And now, as we reach the culmination of this journey, let us anchor this truth into practice, a way to embody the signal so completely that you stop looking for synchronicities and instead become the synchronicity others encounter. That is when life stops appearing random and begins to unfold as a living, breathing miracle. You have walked with me through the mystery of synchronicity, how it begins, why it intensifies, and why it sometimes seems to disappear. But now, it is time to weave these threads into the truth that changes everything. Synchronicity was never the destination. It was the mirror. The real destination is coherence. The real power is when you stop chasing signs and instead hold such a strong vibrational state that you become the sign itself. Think of what happens when you embody coherence. When thought, emotion, and body align in harmony, you generate resonance. Physics tells us that coherence creates resonance, and resonance has the power to influence. A coherent system vibrates with such stability that it organizes everything around it. Neuroscience echoes this truth in Dr. Joe Dispenza's research on heart-brain coherence, showing how the nervous system can move from survival into creation. Spiritual teachers across time described the same state in different language. Neville Goddard called it living from the end, embodying the reality before it appears. They were all pointing toward the same revelation: you no longer wait for signs, you become the sign. Imagine walking into a room with this frequency flowing through you. You don't need to speak yet. People feel something shift. They are drawn to you, softened by your presence, influenced by your energy. This is not imagination. HeartMath Institute has measured the electromagnetic field of the coherent heart extending several feet outside the body, affecting the environment and people within its range. You are literally shaping reality not through force, but through being. This is what it means to become the signal. When you reach this level, synchronicities do return, but not as fragile proof. They come as natural alignment. The silence you experienced earlier was the training ground. It gave you space to stabilize. And once you stabilize, the universe could begin moving with you in undeniable ways. Yet, because you no longer need constant confirmation, these synchronicities feel different. They no longer surprise you. They feel obvious, natural, inevitable, like the only possible outcome. That is the level where miracles stop being rare events and become your baseline of existence. This is your invitation: stop waiting for confirmation. Stop depending on constant signs. Cultivate the state where your very being is the confirmation. Every breath, every movement, every choice radiates coherence into the field. At this point, you no longer ask, "Did the universe hear me?" You know it did, because you are continuously broadcasting the frequency of alignment. This is the graduation from seeker to creator. So, I ask you, take a moment right now, close your eyes, draw in a deep breath. Speak not only with your mind, but with your heart. I am not waiting for signs. I am the signal. Feel the steadiness of that coherence. Feel the vibration of alignment anchoring into your entire system. That alone is enough to shift your reality. Remember, the universe does not respond to effort. It responds to frequency. Synchronicities may guide you. Silence may stretch you. But in the end, the power has never been outside of you. It has always been within. You don't need to chase reality anymore. You are reality. You are the frequency. You are the signal. And when you finally embody that truth, life stops being a search for signs and becomes a constant unfolding of miracles.